Shwmai a croeso cynnes, and welcome to the What's Your Story podcast. I'm James Owen, a Welsh filmmaker and storyteller, and I'm passionate about sharing stories. This podcast is all about business owners sharing their journey, and we'll be speaking with directors, entrepreneurs and creatives from all across Wales to learn from their experiences. We believe everyone has a story to tell. What's your story? Croeso cynnes, welcome back to What's Your Story, and I'm very excited to have a special guest in the studio today. As a rugby fan, as a Cymro, as a Welshman, as a Scarlets. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm going to be fangirling now because someone I've looked up to very much in the world of business and sport is here on the podcast today. He is now a business owner and property developer, and a very fine Welsh international rugby player. I have in the studio today, Aaron Shingler. Diolch, Aaron. Thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
Or Shingz. I can call you Shingz.
Call me Shingz. Call me Shingz.
That's what the boys call you?
Yeah, Shingz, yeah. That's, yeah, I haven't been called that for a while, actually, now. But yeah, it's nice to hear it again.
Good. Well, sometimes nicknames are a bad thing if you've had a bad nickname. No. But no, I really appreciate you coming down, and I'm really excited to have a conversation in around your life now, post-rugby, because you spent many years playing for the Scarlets and playing for Wales, and we'll break that down. But currently now run your own property development company. Yeah. So can you just give me a flavour of, a typical week? What can that look like for you in the world of property?
Typical week.
And it's SG Developments?
GS6.
GS6.
Yeah, GS6. Started in 2018. After an injury, sort of searching for something to do, something to sort of move on to. And then Wayne Griffiths, so that's the G. Obviously Shingler, and I played 6, so that's where the name comes from. So we started off doing new builds, and then sort of progressed from there, really. Yeah.
Fantastic. So any day of the week could look very different in the property game?
It is,
practically. You might be on site one day.
It is very different. It is like, I do a lot of, I probably do a lot of triathlons as well. So my day, like today now, I'll give you my day today. I get up 6 o'clock till 7 o'clock was bike. A bit of breakfast, and then I had a meeting just past Llandailo for a job that's starting next week. And then from there I went to Ammanford, discussed doing a wall on the church, bit of stonework, so that was that. And then from there, a little bit of food on the way, and I went to Pontiates, where I've got a sort of new build and a couple of things going on there. So went there, sort that out. Stop then, so do a few emails, a few phone calls, check on how other boys are getting on, see how other jobs are, and then quick 30-minute swim, a little bit of food, and now I'm here. So that's sort of, I do run the day quite intense sometimes. I love fitting the training in. I sort of hammer the training. Sometimes it'll use me as a bit of 45 minutes sort of lunch break. And then other days then I sort of help out, sort of go on and sort of clear jobs, dealing with customers. But my main role is sort of getting work in, really, and then hopefully the team sort of gets it done for me, really. And then that's a sort of typical
day.
That's a typical day. Yeah.
Training, eating, working.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much sort of. And then I get home then, and then sort of mess around with the kids, might go training with them. My boy the other night, he's sort of getting into it now. I think 7:30. I think he told me he wanted to go for a run. So I said, let's go for a run. No problem. So yeah, I do live quite a busy life, I think. After that, then the kids go down, and it's probably something I'm trying to get better on. Carry on working then to sort of 9:30, doing some of the paperwork side of the business, which isn't great, really.
But something you got to do.
Sometimes, yeah. I think if I didn't do the training, I'd probably find the hours not to. But I can't get rid of the sort of mentality of a sportsman, really, of trying. When I got into the triathlons, I wasn't that good, so the feeling of improving and sort of trying to work on that sort of, I find it's a good balance for me. And it's just something that since a kid I've just trained constantly, really. So I can't give it up.
So even post-career in rugby, you still just cannot leave sport in some
I
sense.
can't leave it. I'm still involved with football sometimes. Play football on the weekends now and again. I was meant to play last weekend, but it got cancelled. Just to keep a bit of competitiveness, a bit of argy-bargy. I was going to play rugby, but it's...
Have you had a few games for Hendy since finishing with the Scarlets?
Well, my last games was I played Hendy. Hendy was a friend. I had a friendly game, and then I played Hendy Pontarddulais, which was a good
Derby.
game. Yeah. Then I went from there. I played Barbars versus Scarlets, which was good. And then I played...
You played for the Barbarians,
Yeah, yeah. And then I went there, Barbars, Munster. And then I played against Wales then off the bench for the Barbars again. So yeah, that was sort of my last stint in rugby, really. And then I sort of, I say time-wise, I haven't really got much more time to sort of put my body on the line, you know.
And I'd love to talk a bit more about the business side of it, because I think as someone working within the world of sport, especially in rugby, it's a short career. And looking at you now, you've really set yourself up for a win, because I believe you're running a successful business within the property game. But, take me back to maybe your very first cap, because you were quite late training and playing in rugby, but where did the success start for you early on in your rugby career?
I guess my rugby story starts at about 13. I think I broke my arm 13, 14, I think it was. I was a skinny guy. Broke my arm. So that was a sort of end on that sort of, I just draw the line in rugby, because I thought, well, I'm too small, I'm getting smashed around here. And I was getting smashed around, because I remember it. So I committed myself to cricket. So that was I was every day training, everything evolved around cricket. And then trying to make it, really. And then sort of came to about 18 and a half, something around that age. And it was the end of the cricket season, probably a poor season for myself. I sort of signed with Glamorgan, sort of 6-month contract, but I wasn't consistent enough. So then I was just going to have a sort of few weeks off, get back to training, sort of try get a better season the following season, and ended up playing for Hendy. Sort of
Hendy now.
They were short. They needed me. I didn't want to play, but I did. And then someone was watching. I'm not sure if it was that game or maybe the second or third game I played for Hendy for Llanelli, who then invited me to train with the RFC team. And then from that, then I probably had 6-7 months with the RFC team, sort of progressed pretty well, really. And then I got offered a contract at the sort of end of that season, which was a bit of a total turnaround. But I was just desperate to make it in sport. That was ultimately it. I was desperate, and whether it was cricket, rugby, football, swimming, running, whatever it was, I was all in, because that's all I ever wanted, really. I wasn't great in school, so that was it, really. I was all in rugby.
So you got a contract. That was for the Scarlets, then?
For the Scarlets, I think I had the first development contract, where it was meant to be sort of, you were rugby and you had a little bit of call it education or work experience, but that never happened, because like I said, I was all in. You know what I mean? I didn't really care what the money was. I was all in. So we had sort of 18, 19 months of that. When the first stadium opened, the first sort of week, the boys that I started there.
In Parc y Scarlets?
In Parc y Scarlets. Wow. So I was a sort of day one there, which I think it might have been October time maybe. And then sort of didn't get much progression, really. I came to maybe the sort of second, third year. I remember it was coming to about April time, and I still hadn't signed. And it was pretty much, it didn't look good, really. I had a game, Nigel Davis came to watch, and I knew I was under pressure. He told me, you need to start fronting up, so you need to be more physical. And I had a good game. I fronted up. I remember I was blood everywhere. I think I broke my nose. But I went as hard as I could. And he sort of signed me for one more year. He said, "I'll give you another year, see if you can sort of progress." And I did. From that year, then I got into this. Well, I was starting second row with Vernon Cooper quite a few times. He gave me a good opportunity, and I sort of obviously made a name for myself then, and managed to make a career of it from that really.
And yeah, growing up by watching the Scarlets, what's going on in Welsh rugby now. Scarlets is my team. Llanelli RFC wasn't really what I've been familiar with, but yeah, growing up, most of my watching rugby playing. Both Wales and Scarlets, you've been, certainly with Scarlets, you've been there. You are one of the most consistent players in the squad, I think, from my perspective. What was it like then? Because you've had some success on the field, and you've had some trials with injury, and I think that's probably very common with lots of players. Injury, there's not a lot you can do about it. Injuries happen, but you've overcome it in some sense. But tell me about your Wales cap, because that, for me growing up, I mean, I played for the Scarlets, so the under-16s, I was in the academy, I got injured, and there were so many I played tight end prop, there were so many props there that they just picked somebody else, and I had a phone call saying, don't come back training, basically. Yeah. And it's gutted, because I was, wanting to be playing for Wales, and some of the boys I was playing against, with, Kieran Hardy, he was in the academy with me. Dinky, Dan Jones,
solid boys.
And Jad, Steph Evs, a couple of years, they were a year older than me, but to see them on TV is a bit mental. And but yeah, for you, tell me about what it was like having your first cap for Wales.
It was crazy. It was crazy because 2012, they had a good team. Really good team. So they played the first game. Won. I think it was against Ireland, I believe. Warburton and Tipperick got injured, and I had a chance. I think on a Wednesday, Thursday, Warburton wasn't coming. He wasn't pulling through really. So Gatlin came up to me and sort of gave me the nod, and. From there, isn't it? The first time you run out in the Millennium Stadium, as it was then, it's just surreal. It is surreal. You run out to the 75,000, and I don't know. You can't really describe it, because you see it on TV, but once you're in that middle of that sort of Coliseum as it is, isn't it? And the day went well. I had a tidy game. Gatlin seemed really happy with me. Sang my song at the end in front of maybe 400 people. That went particularly well as well. And then all of a sudden, then you're back in the house, me and the wife, with a cup of tea, and I was like, it was just surreal, It was really surreal. And then, but yeah, chuffed, chuffed. And then so that was the high. So on the Tuesday, then the following Tuesday, the team gets announced for England. I thought Gatlin hasn't come up to me, hasn't said anything to me. I'm looking good. He was happy how I played. I had all positive feedback, and then names the team, and I'm not even to be seen. Nowhere in the team, and I was like,
not even on the bench.
Not on the bench. Nothing. Travelling reserve. Nothing. And it was for the Triple Crown. So I was obviously a bit disappointed, but I guess I was on the fringe. I wasn't really, sort of one of Gatlin's main guys, was I? So I'd done my job. Didn't travel. which I found a little bit sort of okay. So me and the wife decided then to go to Cardiff to watch the game. I wanted them to win Triple Crown because, one, I wanted them to win, and two, I was involved in sort of that. So Cardiff was bouncing.
This is 2012?
This is 2012. Cardiff was bouncing. I ended up watching it sort of in the back of the pub almost, and then outside towards the second half. And it was a good game. And towards the end of the game where they were winning the Triple Crown, I was just like, wish I was sort of even there on the, just watching. And I just remember turning round and seeing the stadium. I'm sitting outside in the rain, and I'm thinking, saw the stadium. I thought that is, as a reality check, you're sort of up the top. I'm in the middle of that last week. This week I'm outside the pub, and the stadium's in the background. So, yeah, it was a pretty quick reality check, for me. The highs and lows of sport. People talk about it, but that was my first real experience of sort of the highs and lows, because it took me a little bit of time to get sort of, not back from that, but sort of, I was always motivated. I always give everything I had, but I was just a bit sort of, this is how this is how it is. So not everyone was like that, but that's what happened to me.
And it was a very competitive team to get in. I think you have been incredibly unfortunate, just from a timing perspective and player selection. Because now in Welsh Rugby we do the opposite. There's less of a talent pool to pick from. There's lots of people to pick a team from, but the caliber back then of just how good people were, especially back row, second row, it was tough.
It was tough. I had to be absolutely on top of my game just to get 5 minutes. And the training and everything involved in that was intense, as I say, just to get on the bench. But then I played one game in that sort of 2012 sort of Grand Slam. I experienced that, and I remember walking around the field, just thinking, I've got to be on the field next year. I've got to be on the field sort of next time they do this. And 2013, I was, which was a brilliant feeling because they didn't win the Grand Slam, but we won the championship, and I was on the bench. I had 3 games that sort of campaign, so the progression for me was really good, and something I was pretty proud of, really, that I sort of was involved in that sort of period, really.
You've had great success with the Scarlets. You're up there as, if I'm not mistaken, one of the top appearances. There's a handful of players. How many appearances do you have for the Scarlets?
I'm around the sort of 230 something.
You're up there.
I'm up. I wouldn't say I'm up there. I had about 70 odd for Llechdy as well, which
Oh, that's got to count, surely.
Yeah, if that counted, I sort of would have been in the 300 mark, wouldn't I? So I wanted 250, but I didn't quite get there.
But your name is up. I've seen it up on the board in the stadium. In the tunnels. It's there, and you are up there in terms of appearances. There's not many who have played for the Scarlets badge as much as you. I know you got your Kens, and I'm interested. Who is the most? Who has got the highest appearances?
Scarlets wise, Ken's got to be up there.
Cawdor, surely.
Cawdor, I would have thought he must be close to 300. Before that, I don't know, Steve Jones, people like that, but they had the sort of Clash League days possibly as well. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it works, but it would be interesting to see.
Yeah, you're up there for sure. But you've had great success with the Scarlets. Many highs. You were part of that team back in, was it 2017?
Yeah,
league.
Yeah, we had a really good team. Sort of 2016, 17, 18. Really good team. Everyone was, good player. So, there was so many good players there. We all done our job, and we had success. And that was a good part of my career, really.
And always consistently starting for sure.
Yeah. Pivac at the time, he did not give me many games off. I was there 80 minutes most time. And in the end, it was too much, to be honest with you. He was playing me so much that I remember we played semi-finals against Leinster 2018 in the European Cup, massive game, and I'd played a lot, and I didn't have anything.
Wow.
It was so disappointing. Even now, I just, they were better than us, to be fair, but I was, maybe sort of playing at probably 60%. By the end of the game, my hamstrings, I generally couldn't even push in the scrum. That's how fatigued I was, and then
Because you were playing too much.
just playing too much, and I think they gave me a small break off the back of that because they could see I was always 100%. I just gave everything I had, but yeah, in the end, obviously, I was at the top of my game then, and then I ended up running, and my ACL just went, and it was just down to fatigue. So, as much as it was a good time, it was I probably didn't manage me very well. Well, they definitely didn't manage me very well because I always looked at Leinster players at the time, and they were never playing as much. At that sort of year, I was playing every game of the Scarlets. I had 1 year where I played most games for Wales, and that's sort of the downfall of my career. Really, it's sort of gone downhill after that, unfortunately. But yeah.
But many successes.
Yeah.
I want to talk about injuries because I think that the injuries have probably been pivotal moments in your life to change your career because you've had to think outside the box. It is a short sport or short career, playing professionally rugby. So when was it that you first had that desire to get in the property game? Because were you young and just thought, I'll buy a house to rent, and what was the sort of thinking behind getting into that game?
I've always loved trying to make money, if I'm honest. From school, I sort of sold sweets. I done 2 paper rounds. So I've always been sort of looking at all options, really. And then during my rugby sort of days, I was always involved in property, sort of buying houses and sort of renovating, renting. I always had, that was always my plan. During the rugby was to have a certain amount of houses, and I knew that the income was going to be good. But when I did finish, interest rates shot up, and it was a little bit different because I sort of having interest only when tripled in sort of the payments tripled. So I've always been into property, and then I have my injury, 2018. I think 29, 30. I got 2 kids and the wife.
Was this when you played the Scarlets for
This
Wales?
is when I was playing the Scarlets. And then I'm panicking, really. I'm panicking a little because I'm thinking, well, I need another 5-6 years really in rugby just to be a bit more set up. So I was starting to look at the coaching side of the game. I'd done sort of badges, I'd done qualifications, I'd done quite a few different things, and none of them really, I didn't really enjoy it. And I thought, do I really want to go into the coaching? And I always liked property, so I approached a guy I know who was a good builder, Wayne, hence the GS6, Wayne Griffiths. He was a good guy, really good team. And he was interested in doing new builds because I originally wanted to build one house. I thought, I'm going to try do these new builds. I'm going to try find a bit of land. I'll find the team, which was Wayne, and then and see what he built and see if I could make some profit, basically. So he wanted to do the same. He was doing sort of extensions and renovations himself. So we decided to start a company. We're looking for land. Managed to find land in Llanafni, and then we had, but obviously you find the land, and then you got to look at the funding, then, haven't you? So that was challenging because I was thinking that from my sort of property days, I'm dealing with a lot less money. But the farmer gave us a real opportunity, to be honest with you, because we offered him for 2 plots, and he had sort of 6 remaining, and he he then he's quite an old school guy. He said, do you want all 6? Do you want all 6? I was like, I'd love all 6, but I haven't got the money for them. He said, just give me the money later. And literally like that, and I was like, the money later? I said, how does that actually work? He said, well, just when you sell them, just give me the money. So I was like, well, yeah, all right. So that was massive. That was massive for the business. Because I would never have been able to do it on my own anyway, but together we just about sort of, I think I must have probably remortgaged my house, to be honest with you. So I took a bit of a risk, but and the agreement with the farmer was a time limit, so I had to give the money back in a certain period of time. So that was a risk. Plus, I'm getting like 6 plots at this point, which we ended up developing into 4.
And at the risk, you're injured at this point.
I'm injured at this point. So, and I'm remortgaging my house, which obviously bumps your payments up. But I'm not someone who doesn't take a risk. But it was a sort of educated risk at the time. I knew the team was good. And I just thought, right, we're going to go for this. And then the sort of first and second property we'd done, we just hit the sort of time limits that was required really to pay the farmer off. So that was a bit of pressure. I'm sort of, at this point, I think I'm getting back from my injury as well. But that's sort of running in your back of your mind really, because although it was a good opportunity, we still had to deliver, we still had to sell them. And to be fair, he gave us a pretty cheap, really good plots at a good price. So it was a real opportunity. And from then, we grew. We sort of grew, and Wayne, who doesn't now work in the business, he's just retired. He's a little bit older than me, obviously. And I sort of tried to push it on. Got good guys along the way, and sort of just kept on trying to push to grow. But it's certainly not an easy game to be in. But
there's a lot of people doing it. I remember when you first had that plot, because you started a Twitter page.
Yeah, there we are. There we are.
Yeah, in Llanarthy. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was the start.
They're still there, I think.
Yeah, they're still
there.
There
must be good houses, then.
They're still there, yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So that was the start. So, you had this panic. You sorted. That proved successful. You were able to do it in the time limit that the farmer put in place for the land. Yeah. So that was the first project then in this iteration of the business.
Yes. Yeah. So from then I was always sort of buying and selling properties around Cletley really. Sort of just ticking over, and then sort of continue doing new builds. We were just that was the whole game plan really. I was never going to go outside that. So we'd done that for a few years, doing new builds, whether it was for ourselves or other people. And it went reasonably well. It wasn't, it's a lot easier doing a new build than a renovation, which I sort of find out the last few years when I try to do a bit more of them. Renovation work is particularly hard. New builds are a lot more straightforward. But yeah, we seem to be sort of growing the team. I'm pretty pleased with who was working as our GS6 at the moment. Real experienced bunch of boys. And yeah, I'm enjoying it at the moment.
At the moment, it might change. But you mentioned a team, right? Because you can't do it all alone.
No.
To build a successful business, you need people. I've had to learn that over the years. I remember when you had that plot of land, I was a one-man band, on my own. Now I've got a team. It's taken me a long time to find a team because people let you down, especially when you're employing people. It's very, very challenging. But to find the right team is difficult, and I think sometimes you've got to go through. Taking risks, taking gambles on people, and sometimes people say things and then they let you down. It's not made out how they might pitch themselves, But I think what I've learned is, taking a gamble, taking a risk. But when you do find the right people, look after them, because if you look after your team, in my instance, take you back Shingz, when I think about 2.5 years ago, when I dislocated my shoulder. So I used to play could have played for Hendy, but I played for Furness, and I dislocated my shoulder.
Yeah.
It was against Kevin Ethan, local team, league game, and I thought I broke my arm. It was a horrific injury. I've never experienced anything like it. And I'm there sitting in a wheelchair in Prince Philip Hospital, ready to be x-rayed. My wife at that point was 3 months out of work with anxiety and depression. And I'm there in a wheelchair thinking, what the hell, I was just thinking, what am I going to do? Because at the moment, I'm the only one putting bread on the table.
Yeah.
At that point, they didn't have any staff working for me. So what the hell am I going to do? I somehow managed to climb out of that hole. I think I'm very resilient. I've had a lot of things happen in my life to make me resilient, and I've just learned from those experiences. But I'm so grateful now, because now I got a team, and with my wife expecting a baby now, already looking ahead, I've got a bit more reassurance because I got a good team that I can just hand things off.
Yeah.
So what do you think the secret is to finding a good team?
I think you're spot on, pal, with the relying on people, though. The way you spoke there, it's exactly how I feel. I don't know, I think you just got to give people a chance, really. Do you know what I mean? Most of my team are sort of on the older side.
So it's the key experience then? Or maybe a bit of mix, because you've got to give young people a chance, haven't you?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I've given a lot of youngsters a chance. I've probably close to maybe 15 youngsters, sort of, but they generally just don't turn up. That's the biggest problem I have.
I think turning up, that's probably the simplest thing you can do in any job, but that's an experience you had, just people don't turn up.
Yeah, basically. I'm someone who, I'm massive on turning up on time, trying to be 10 minutes early. And yeah, so I have youngsters, I give them a chance, and I'm there 8 o'clock or 7:30, and they're nowhere to be seen. And then they turn up at 9, and I'm just... Once is all right, but twice, 3 times, but I've had this quite a lot, really. So I tend to go for, most of the people now are... Like, my dad's got a crew, they call themselves the Dad's Army. He's 61.
Craig's Army,
Dad's Army. Yeah, he's 61, he's the youngest in the team.
Bloody hell.
So clearing houses. But I know... I wouldn't say I'm putting my life on the line, but I know there's a good chance they'll be on time. It's a good gamble of a youngster. I wouldn't be putting anything on the line that they turn up on time and sort of get what I need done. So it's difficult, really. I don't know why. I've always wanted to be, not that I physically graft every day, but I've always had a good work rate in me. I would never let anyone down. But I am finding it sort of... It'll be interesting to see how my business goes in maybe 5-10 years when I'm sort of still in my 40s and these guys, they won't be around.
So you're going to have to find a new workforce?
Yeah, I'll have to find some sort of new workforce.
What do you think the secret is then? Because if young people, and that's a big generalisation, but I think that's quite fair to say that is something a lot of young people struggle with. It seems so simple, but what do you think needs to happen in young people for them to turn up to work on time? So turning up to site at 8 o'clock in the morning, that is the construction. It's just the norm because you need daylight to work, right? So the earlier you can be out, the more time you can work on a project. How do you think young people turn it around, or what needs to happen in society for young people to want to get up in the morning?
I don't know, honestly. You say 8 o'clock. I'm generally up between 5 and 6. I don't know how it's happened. I really don't.
So in 10 years' time, you might have a problem.
I think I will. I really do think I will. I don't see... Maybe I'm not out there enough. Maybe I should promote myself a little bit more. Like, I could recruit today. If someone came up to me and they wanted an opportunity, I could bring someone on board, maybe 2 people on board today. But I don't know where you'd find these people. I generally do. I phoned the college the other day, the college in Amford, just to see if there's any plasterers, and they didn't have any apprentices, whether they were out or they just said generally they don't have any. It's quite a tough trade sort of plastering. And I find most of the sort of the plasterers and, plaster boarders that I've dealt with are really good from the valleys. Really, really good work ethic. I got one boy up there. He's a phenomenal boarder. I've never seen a guy work so hard. And fair play to him. He gets paid well for what he does, and then but he earns it.
The boarders, is he the guy who carries the boards?
Boarders, yeah.
And he'll fit them.
He fits the boards.
And then I guess you got a plaster that skims over and does all the plastering.
Well, for example, a board is 25 kilos, isn't it? Plaster board, so it's a bit of physical work. These guys are doing, I've seen them do 130 boards in a day. In my house, they are boarded in my house. 130. I put 130 in there, and I was like, "Well, there you go for the weekend, boys." And they were done. They rang me Saturday night. We're running out of boards.
What?
I'm like, "You can't be running out." There's no way. So I go over. It's like 9:00 at night now. I go over. There's no boards there. There's no boards. So they are out there, but I'm around here.
Hard to find.
Really hard to find. And then boys, they're probably sort of late 30s, 40s. Well, probably actually he's probably in his 40s. But yeah, I hope I'm just maybe not looking hard enough. I hope that's the case. I'm someone who I'm happy to work with anyone, really.
There is, within construction, there is a massive skills shortage in Wales specifically.
Yeah.
So the problem is there.
It's a hard industry. I've done some days where I've worked a lot more than I've done, sort of helped clean up, sort of carrying plasterboards, blah, blah. And it is quite hard. There's no doubt about that.
So you're not just a paperwork man.
No, I do. No, I try to help.
Graft.
I do help if I can. I try to give. We try if we can. If we allowed to start early, I try to do maybe 7:30 till 3. We have a short sort of lunch break. I find sometimes I've got to work a little bit on, but during them times I find you getting decent work out of people. It's enough. I don't want people killing themselves. And by sort of that sort of time, I find in it's sort of people are tired. So that's the sort of I know some people go 8 till 4, but I don't know. I don't know if it's quite long. It's a lot to ask of sort of the older people that work for me. Not that they're older, but yeah, that's why general hours we generally work 7:30 till 3, and hopefully the boys that do work sort of enjoy sort of what they do anyway.
You've worked hard throughout your rugby career. You've set something up that's gonna, you maybe. You've done your bit to help your family provide beyond your career in sport. I've heard many a time stories of people who are maybe thought about this too late, and that career change happens, and they struggle to transition. It's great that you've managed to transition successfully. I'm sure you'd still like to be playing, but your body says no, even though you're still fit. But I'm just wondering if there are any people, and obviously we've talked a lot about rugby today, but you've got an experience in cricket. If there are any young people listening, maybe in their 20s, thinking about what's ahead, what advice would you give to them in terms of transitioning out of sport?
It's an absolute essential. Do you mean it's essential to your day? I'd say. Look, I can only... I know how I felt the last few months. I had a period the last few months where I wasn't sure if I was signing on. Obviously, I didn't in the end. And the thought, although I was pretty well set up, I was still worried the fact that I've been paid at the end of the month for 15 years. And I knew that the first time I didn't get paid was, it was a bit of a shock. It was like, I was well paid. So I think if you're not set up, you're in trouble. That is as simple as that, really. because depending how well you do in your career as well, I don't think any rugby player really is going to sit back after the rugby. I don't think anyone, although there are probably maybe a handful, but I haven't seen anyone just hang their boots up and just sit on the beach anywhere yet. Anyway, but no, I don't.
Unless
think
you're Anton Dupont.
Yeah, but it's, money's even less now, isn't it? It was a bit of money sort of when I was playing this, Alan Wins and sort of half pennies, George North. There's a few boys on really good money, I was on good money, but they were on probably double, triple what I was on. And now the sort of boys are on a lot less, really. So, I don't know what they're doing. I don't hear many stories of the Scarlets boys out there at the moment doing a lot. So I would, it would be interesting to hear from someone like yourself. You're in there. It'd be interesting to see what they actually are doing. What are these boys looking to do after rugby?
Yeah. I know Ken is selling biltong.
Yeah.
Sheriff's biltong.
Yeah. There's some boys. Probably. Ken seems to be sort of doing well. I know he's doing a lot of different. He was looking. I think he done a bit of property, a bit of biltong. Obviously, he does a little bit on TV. His wife does particularly well as well. So people like him have. They set themselves up pretty well, to be fair to them.
Yeah, that's good. It's good advice. It's essential to look at something, and you've shown an example of being entrepreneurial in setting up your own business. But it's not for everyone. But I think having a area you can go into, maybe retraining in a field, so that at least they've got a career to go to. A couple of years ago, I remember Harry Robinson. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
He, I interviewed him a fair few years ago when I was first set up, and because he played for the Scarlets, I think.
He played for the Scarlets. Yeah, he was a good little player. I think he's gone into finance.
He's in wealth management and all that sort of stuff.
James's Place, something.
Yeah, St James's Place.
Yeah, so
yeah. I tell you what, I'm dying to get him on, mate. But he's a hard bloke to get hold of. Gito Ivan Phillips. Do you remember Gito? I was playing with him in the academy, and he didn't stay with the Scarlets, and he signed for Ospreys, and he had that horrific motorbike accident. But he does phenomenally well in television now. He's always on Espadrec.
I've seen him, yeah.
Fantastic. But yeah, it's essential. Anyone in sport that they've got a plan B.
Yeah, it's tough. I remember when I was sort of the last 2 years of my career. The sort of start of my career, I was 100% rugby. Well, maybe 98%. Let's say, I was all in. And then the last sort of towards the sort of middle, and I was, 60% rugby, 40%. I was in training, and I was still, I was on the phone, I was doing emails. I had to. And then I got home in the nights, and then I was sort of doing work, looking for opportunities. So the last 2 years of my career was, I was busy, but I wasn't comfortable not being busy, really. Because I think, I haven't got any qualifications. So I couldn't just go get a good job. So I had to do something along this lines that I do now. So that was probably something, looking back, if I was giving some youngster advice, and I would probably say, go get a skill set.
Be a plasterer.
Well, take your time, do anything, isn't it? Plumbing, electrician. I think if I was giving my younger self, I would probably do something, some sort of skill set, which even now it's crazy to think, but I know roughly how things should be done, but I physically can't do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wish I could do a little bit.
So you're fit now, you still train. For you and your mental health, because I would imagine you might have been to some dark places in your time where you've had maybe disappointment in selection and through injury. I've not a professional capacity, but I've had quite a horrific experience being injured. And what do you do? Is sport and training for you your sort of coping mechanism when you have bad mental health?
I wouldn't say I've ever struggled massively with my mental health. But I certainly had. I'll tell you. This obviously my ACL, done my ACL, and I was in horrific pain. I was after it. They sort of took the graft from my hamstring and put it into my knee. And my hamstring, every time I woke up in the middle of the night, it felt like someone had just hammered me with a baseball bat. And I was physically retching some mornings, was just in pain. So I was popping a few pills at that time, just to get through it. So that quite strong ones as well. So that sort of brings you ups and downs. And then from that, I obviously recover from that ACL. Worked really hard, had a good physio team. I come back, my first game back was England pre-World Cup. So from being really low, because I remember the ACL as well, I'm sort of involved in Wales. Yeah, I'm starting. I've worked hard to get to this point. It was really hard to get 5 minutes off a bench. So I had a little bit of success, and then I do the ACL, and I'm watching Wales win the sort of Grand Slam. I can't remember what year it was, but that was in sort of watching that, and it was a lot of disappointment, really. You're just itching to get back.
2019, was it?
Could have been 2019. Yeah, it would have been 2019. Because I just couldn't. I was trying to get back, but sort of Christmas time, but I just couldn't. I had another operation. And then you're thinking, I still wasn't convinced I was even going to come back to play. I was thinking, how am I? I just didn't feel right. So that comes with its own challenges. I say this, but I'm always been desperate to play. I love playing sport. I love being professional. I love training. I love the big occasions. And I didn't feel like I was done with sport, And at that point, you're thinking I could be done. But then I did get back. I did get to the World Cup, which for me was probably one of my biggest achievements personally, coming from that low to I'm never going to play again to sort of my first game back, England in Twickenham. I go to the World Cup. I play, I think, we're out of the 8 games, I play 7 of them. I think I only missed out on the quarterfinals. I played in the semi-finals off the bench, and then I played against New Zealand then in the sort of 3rd, 4th playoff. Most of the appearances off the bench, but I was involved. Great. So that was brilliant, and then sort of COVID starts to happen, isn't it? Or maybe this is pre-COVID. I have a little bit of pain in my foot. I'm in good shape at this point now. I'm back, I think it was the start of the season as well. So I've got to go into the physio. I'm like, my foot just doesn't feel right. I said, what the hell it is? I have a massage. Okay, I'm walking around, a little bit of a tingle, and then sort of a week or 2 later, I can feel it in my other foot. So I got a bit of pain in the left foot, say, and then the right foot is in a bit of pain. And I said, I must have, what's wrong with me? They're like, oh no, it wouldn't be, it wouldn't translate over there. And then all of a sudden, I just had from between both knees and both ankles and my feet, I had this fluid, and I literally couldn't walk out of nowhere. I literally could not walk. I'm going to hospital. I have an emergency operation to drain my knees. Career over, really. Career is on the line. They didn't know what it was. Turns out it's like a reactive arthritis. So I'm in hospital in Cardiff for maybe 2 weeks. That was mad. In a ward of like 8-10 people, and I thought the ACL was bad. This was a whole new world. Couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't get out of bed. It was hard to believe that from being a real healthy, I've just worked myself back after maybe a year. I'm in a good shape, about to start the season, and then I'm totally gone. I'm totally gone. I'm in the house, and it's pretty bad. I think my wife is pregnant with the third child, Ronnie.
Bloody hell.
Times are bad. And then at the worst point, because I just couldn't get rid of this arthritis, I'm on steroids. I'm injecting myself in the house. I'm on tablets for the pain. Katie then has a cesarean. COVID. This is right in the middle of COVID now. So she's had a cesarean. I'm crippled. I mean, I can't function at all. Which I like to think
So
I've got a bit.
did you miss the birth?
No, I didn't miss the birth. I was outside the hospital. It was the time where you couldn't really go in. I just went in for the birth. Probably hammered painkillers at that point just to get in there. Probably that's what I done. But the arthritis was like, sometimes I'm literally crippled, and then maybe I have like a few good hours, and then the next morning you wake up and you're sort of bedbound again. Very strange sort of thing. So I had that for 18 months. I was really lucky. that COVID was around. Because I think, there's no way the Scarlets are signing me. Like, no way. And it was during the time where they were offering sort of 25% pay cuts. But they were had to offer you a contract. So I felt I got really lucky then. Because I took my 25%, but I had a 2-year contract. And at this point, I'm in a hell of a knot. There's no chance I'm playing rugby again.
You did?
But I did. I came back from it. And then I think I finished my career reasonably strong.
I think so.
I think I was reasonably strong. But there was a real crazy period from the ACL, which took me 18 months, to a year of rugby, to another 18 months with the arthritis. It kind of went under sort of the radar because of COVID. So that, you talk about mental health. I must be reasonably strong to just get through that. And the wife as well. Do you know what I mean? She's got cesarean. I'm crippled. She's got 2 young kids plus a newborn. She's not meant to be. She's cooking. She's looking after everyone. So she had a pretty tough time. And I'm pretty helpless at this point as well. So shout out to her.
Shout out to Katie. Fantastic. But it takes a family unit to be able to raise a family. And, when you're having tough times in business, Katie's there to support you and vice versa. So, sometimes things are hard on the spouse, in my experience, my wife, Amy, she's had tough times and I've had to, I've had to adapt and support. And there's times where I'm grafting really hard and I need the help, and it was harder if you've got nobody by your side.
Yeah.
But I think for us, we got that benefit of having our wives to support us.
Yeah, she's really supportive. We're a good team. We are a good team. She's always supported me, put me first most of the time, to be fair. Yeah, we work well together.
You look after the boys. Do you look after the operations, finance director, whatever her role is? Because she works in the business.
She works in the business. Yeah, she's. So she was probably doing 1 or 2 days a week, and then obviously 3 kids. I like getting 5 meals a day, so she's like a full-time chef.
Class.
But of recently now, the last sort of few months, she's more not full time, but she's certainly doing 5 hours a day probably, which is is on top of everything. I'm not getting as much food, which I don't know what to do with that.
You have to employ a chef.
I genuinely, if there's someone out there that wants to cook and clean, I'm checking the job out there now. I'm genuine. I'm checking the job out there now. Anyone listening that was a good chef, good at cleaning, I'm looking for someone.
Job ads out now. As we close, Shingz, I'd love to know if you could sit here, and I've got to hear a bit about your story today. If you'd love to hear anyone's story, maybe somebody influential, somebody inspirational, somebody in the property industry, maybe somebody in sport, rugby career perhaps. If you could spend an hour to sit down and listen to somebody's story, who might you have sitting in this chair?
It's a great question. That. I don't know. putting me on the spot like that, I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Well, I forgot to brief you. That's the honesty.
It's a good question, though. Do you
But
mean
we've had all sorts of people, and some are fictional.
Yeah.
Some love movies and sports and games, and there's lots of people I'm sure have influenced you and inspired you in your journey. Also, we've had some people who are family members. They've never got to know their grandfather's story, the keys and so on. But
I would say probably from my sort of side, I'm just, without sort of bragging, as it were, I think I'm quite motivated to be successful. I find I just want to be successful. Whatever I do, I love just challenging, and whether it's sort of rugby, business, bit of triathlon now, I want to be the best, you know?
So you're self-motivated?
I feel I am. And sometimes I don't think... And I sold a sort of property the other day, and it was quite a large sale. And it was probably the biggest sale I've had. But seeing the figures, I wasn't like, joyed with the money. I think I genuinely want more success, which is sort of growing the business, making deals. I think I get more of a kick out of that than actually seeing financial numbers come in, which I thought I was doing it more for the finances. That's what I actually thought. But until that actually happened, I thought, well, maybe I just quite like the growth, trying to make sort of deals with people, because that's probably one of my favourite things, is being out there. I try exceptionally hard to make sort of deals with people, really hard. And I find it really challenging, don't know why, because I'm trying to, I feel like I run a decent operation, but to try and tell them that is quite... that's what I get a massive kick out at the moment, is sort of hunting for opportunities. Yeah.
Good. Well, it's been great to listen to that. And yeah, from that very first plot you had back, I think it must have been 18, 19... I can't remember when, but...
Yeah, it would have been 2018 I would have bought it, probably. 2019, maybe sort of building it. It's...
I remember seeing it, and I DM'd you on Twitter.
Yeah. We've been friends all the time.
And I said, if you need someone to help you out, give us a shout.
Yeah, well, it could be something we could look at. Certainly, I don't really put loads of content out there. Maybe down to time, maybe the fact that I don't, particularly do it very often, or I never done sort of the social media side. So yeah, who knows?
Who knows? But you really inspired me a few weeks ago. You came on the Scarlets podcast, episode 2, and I just loved I genuinely had goosebumps when you were talking about, Garen asked you, what did you say to the players? And you were that I felt like I was in the changing rooms with you, mate. I'd like to see what it's like get a feel of it, and look in my teammates' eyes and say, I'm going to go to war for you today. That was like electric, mate. That's what they need. They need that tonight.
Yeah, that's basically what I done day and day. That's how I lived that's how I was. Like, I can imagine being like with me, I'm like that every day, mind. I mean, I was intense in the rugby. I remember getting home sometimes. I'm shattered because I'm all out every day. People hated it sometimes because I was a bit full on, but yeah, there's nothing better than being in that changing room. So, and I was shouting this sort of stuff out, you know what I mean? And before you're in the huddle, sometimes I had the opportunity to speak to the boys. Sometimes, it was other players. And I think that's what we had with the Scarlets at that sort of successful period. There was a lot of people leading the week. Like, so say maybe I might lead one week, Scott Williams or someone, John Davis, some people like that, Ken. It was just, we took it in turns really, which sort of made sure everyone was motivated. No one sort of had a chance to not give everything because we were on to you, So yeah.
Excellent. No, thank you so much. You're, from seeing, back all those many years ago, that first plot, and yeah, to see you finish your career on a high, and to successfully build that business, to transition you out the sport. I think, well, you've inspired me as a business owner, but I think you're an inspiration to a lot of young people who are in that world of sport now. And yeah, I'd love so many people to listen to this and get inspired by that. But I know you're a busy man. I've been trying to get you on for a while.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you coming down, Shingz, and yeah, really grateful for the opportunity to have this conversation with you. So diolch i ti.
Thank you very much.